Good afternoon, dear students. My name is Dr. Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I am working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today in this video lecture, we shall be talking about the topic sentence structure. One of the important topics of grammar, sentence structure. So, we know the whole language, its foundation is words, sentences. So sentence is like the basic element of a language. So today we shall be talking about the structure of sentence. What is the structure of a sentence? How can we structure a sentence? What are the different elements which are required to form a sentence? And what are the different elements without which a sentence is incomplete? So we shall be talking about all this stuff. And we shall be talking about the parts of sentence. What are the different parts which just constitute or which make a sentence when they are put together? So all these things we shall be finding in this lecture today. First, I would like to talk about sentence structure. Sentence structure is a grammatical component that tells us exactly where and how each component of a sentence should be placed. So sentence structure is a grammatical component. When we talk about sentence structure, it's not something we talk about literature of a language. We talk about literature or we talk about any other element of a language. So when we talk about sentence structure, it means we are talking about grammatical component, because sentence structure is a grammatical component. And it tells exactly where and how each component of a sentence should be placed. It is this sentence structure which tells us how each component of a sentence should be placed in order to blend and make sense. It is the sentence structure which tells us where to use different other components of a sentence so that everything is placed in order to blend and make sense. I would like to quote one definition of grammar. When we talk about grammar, there is among its numerous definitions, one of the definitions is grammar is an art by which we put the right words on right places. So grammar is an art. One of the definitions says grammar is an art by which we put the right words on right places. If you just pay attention to this definition, so it contains the whole crux. It contains all the discipline. It contains the whole domain of grammar. Because see, if we talk about tenses, now I have a tense like I dash him yesterday. I dash him yesterday. Put the appropriate form of verb. So when it is yesterday, that means it's past. So we use met. I met him yesterday. Now what I have done, what grammatical function or grammatical rearrangement I did with the sentence by which it became a correct sentence. I did only one thing. I chose a word among these two words and I used that word at this place. So that is what this definition is saying. It is an art by which we put right words on right places. So sentence structure is like one and the same thing. It is that study, it's that component of grammar, it is that grammatical component which tells us exactly how and where to use different components in a sentence so that it can give us an order and make a sense. And this blend and sense is compulsory. Because a sentence is not a sentence if it is not giving us complete meaning and if it doesn't have a sense. What's a sentence? It is the combination of words having complete meaning and sense. If we have a sentence which is not having sense, that cannot be called a sentence. For example, Rahul market going is. Rahul market going is. This is a wrong sentence. This is not a sentence. Why? Though it has the meaning. It says about Rahul market going is. Like all the things which we require in order to create meaning from this sentence, we have all those words. We have all those components. We have noun, we have object, we have verb, we have helping verb. But still this is not a sentence. Why? Because it doesn't have sense if it is like this. Rahul is going to market. This can be called a correct sentence. Why? Because it has the meaning and it has complete meaning and it has sense. So that's what I tell you when this sentence structure means to use these different components of sentences at their right places so that they can provide a proper blend, order to the blend, and they can make sense. They can provide complete meaning and sense. The Collins Dictionary defines sentence structure as what? Collins Dictionary, the famous dictionary Collins, what it says about sentence structure? The grammatical arrangement of words in sentences. It is the grammatical arrangement. Again, this is like the same thing. It is the arrangement of the different components of grammar in a sentence. Okay, subject will come at the beginning. Then it will be maybe followed by a helping verb or by a main verb. Then object or complement. So this is what Collins says. Collins says it's the grammatical arrangement of words in sentences. Or in other words, the sentence structure is what defines the way a sentence will look and sound. Or in other sense, sentence structure is what defines, it is all that which is required, which defines the way a sentence, which can tell us the way a sentence will look and sound. So it is all that which can make a sentence sense, which can give sense to the sentence and which can give meaning to the sentence. This can be given by these grammatical components. I hope you have understood sentence structure. Then, basic parts and components of a sentence. What are the basic parts and components? See, we are going to discuss about simple sentences, complex sentences, and compound sentences and complex sentences. But before we touch those sentences, simple, compound, and complex, it's important that we all must be aware about the basics of sentences. Because when we talk about these complex and compound sentences, so we must have the information about the basics first. Now, when we talk about the basic parts and components of a sentence, now before we look into how sentence structure works, it's better to learn first about the basic structure of a sentence and components. And when we talk about components, we need to talk about the parts of sentence. A sentence in English language consists of at least a subject and a predicate. The sentences in English language, at least they contain two things. One is subject and other is predicate. In other words, a sentence should have a subject and a verb. So a sentence contains subject and a predicate. Predicate is the part where verb is located. So in other words, we can say a sentence must have a subject and have a verb. What subject? The subject can be a noun or a pronoun that does the action. Subject is the doer of action. Subject is about whom the sentence is. Subject is the noun or pronoun that does the action. That's subject. Like we have, the sun is shining. The sun is shining. The sentence is about sun. We are talking about sun. The sun is shining. The sky is clear. What's clear? Sky. The sentence is about sky. So about whom? This whom, it may be a person, place or thing. Any idea? So this is subject. The sun and the sky, in both these sentences, they are subjects. Because they are the things about whom the sentence is. Then predicate. What's predicate? The predicate is the action performed by particular subject in the sentence. It is the action done by the subject. Subject was like about whom the sentence is. Now predicate is action done by the subject. That's predicate. For example, I love macaroni and cheese. The sentence is about I. And what I is doing, or what is said about I, if I is some person, because I have used here first person pronoun, I can write this sentence like this in order to make it more easier for you. Rahul loves macaroni and cheese. So the sentence is about Rahul. Rahul is the subject. And what is said about the subject, that is predicate. It is said that he loves macaroni and cheese. So this portion, it becomes predicate of the sentence. It forms the predicate of a sentence. Now the next is Marin has a pet. Marin. The sentence is about Marin, and what is said about subject? The subject is Marin, and what is said about subject? He has a pet. So has a pet is the predicate of the sentence. It includes verb in itself, which is has. Then Anusha can draw. Means Anusha knows drawing. Anusha can draw. The sentence is about Anusha. And what is said about her? She can draw. So can draw is the predicate, and this is subject. Then, now what are the components of a sentence? What are the main components which are available in a sentence? Like a sentence has two parts. I talked about parts. Mainly there are two, subject and predicate. But a sentence has 5 components that make up the structure of a sentence. Mainly there are 5 components required in order to, when a sentence gives us the complete meaning. We have subject, we have verb, we have object, we have complement, we have adjunct. How many components? 5 components. We have subject, we have verb, we have object, we have complement, we have adjunct. So there are 5 components of a sentence. Let's talk about them. A subject is a noun, which I discussed with you, that performs the action in a sentence, or a noun that performs the action in a sentence is considered as the subject. The doer of action, if it is noun or pronoun, the doer of action in the sentence is considered as the subject of a sentence. And it answers the question who. Or in other words, a subject can be identified by asking the question who. A subject takes the first place in most cases, especially in declarative and assertive sentences. Sentence can be found, subject can be found if we ask a question like who. For example, here a sentence is, the child kept crying. If I ask you who kept crying, what will you answer? The child. So the answer to this who is subject, that is the child. So Subject mainly occurs at the beginning of the sentence, especially when we have assertive or declarative sentence. So then our school team won the match. If I ask you who won the match, the answer will be our school team. My son is in the 8th grade. Who is in the 8th grade? My son. Hard work pays. Who pays? Hard work pays. No one came to the wedding. Who came to wedding? No one. So all these sentences or all these bold-faced words in these sentences at the beginning, they form the subject to each sentence. A doer of action. It may be noun or pronoun. It can be identified by asking the question who. Then we have verb. In every sentence, the most important word can be said to be the verb. A verb shows the action or activity, or it shows work done by the subject. And remember, all verbs, including main verbs, helping verbs, stative verbs, because verbs also show the state of being. State of being. My brother is a headmaster. The verb is. So there is no action word. It doesn't show any action, but it shows the state of being. He's headmaster. Stative verbs and action verbs, they come under this category. And most often verb appears immediately after the subject. So the verb is the most important component in a sentence. We have helping verbs, we have main verbs, we have stative verbs, we have action verbs. And all of these verbs, in most of the cases, they occur right after the subject. But this is not mandatory that all the verbs will occur after the subject. They can not only after the subject, they can also occur at any place in the subject. But mostly they occur after the subject. Example is, Neha is writing a letter. The subject is Neha, and after Neha we have two verbs. Is helping verb and writing is main verb. It was too dark. So we have this helping verb was, or stative verb. It shows the state of being. I feel tired. Again, verb after subject. My phone is the subject. My phone is not working. We have is after my phone. And then we have working also. Tarun's dog ran away. Who ran away? Tarun's dog. So this dog or Tarun this dog is the subject. And you can quote whole Tarun's dog, and ran is the verb here. So this is also one of the main components which we require in order to form a sentence. Then, an object. What's object? Object is a noun or pronoun that receives the action done by the subject. The action which is done by the subject is received by the object, or the part of a sentence which receives the action at the end is called object. Objects are of two types. We have direct object, we have indirect object. So the object is that part of sentence which receives the action done by the subject. We have two parts of objects. One is direct object, other is indirect object. What is direct object? A noun or a pronoun that receives the action directly is the direct object in the sentence. When a noun or pronoun receives the action done by the subject directly, we call that object as direct object. It answers the question what? And direct object mostly direct objects mostly appear immediately after the verb and are the primary objects in the sentence. This direct object, it many a times, it most commonly appears after the verb That's why they are called as primary objects in the sentence. For example, Harry bought a new car. If I ask you what Harry bought, so this car is the answer. So this is the object. See, Harry bought. Harry is the subject. Bought is the verb. A new car. So we have this car, its object. Then my mom made a cake. So it's object. Direct object. I met my friend, object. She knows all the songs, object. We watched a movie, object. And these are called the primary objects of a sentence because they occur, they exist after the verb. Then, indirect object. What's indirect object? An indirect object is a noun or pronoun. Indirect object is a noun or pronoun that is secondary object. It's not primary, it is secondary. It can be identified by asking the question whom. I'll give you an example. When there is an indirect object in a sentence, it's mostly placed after the verb and before the direct object. When there is an indirect object in a sentence, it's mostly placed after the verb and before the direct object. Like, Vandana gave Kirtana a cake. Kirtana is an indirect object. The sentence is like, Vandana gave a cake, but to whom she gave? Kirtana. So Kirtana is indirect object. It's placed after the verb and before the primary object. Then we have another example. My mom bought me a new dress. The sentence is, my mom bought a new dress. Now if I ask for whom she bought, for me. Me is indirect object. It's after the verb and before the primary object. Then I gave him a chocolate. I gave him a chocolate. I is subject, gave is verb, a chocolate is the primary object. But before the primary object and after the verb, we have this indirect object, him. They gave us coffee with breakfast. Us is indirect object. He lent his friend a pen. He lent his friend a pen. His friend is indirect object. And I told you how these bold-faced words are indirect objects. I showed you that. Then we have complement. What's a complement now? Now we know what's subject, what's predicate, what's object. But what's a complement? The words required to complete the meaning of a sentence can be referred to as the complement of the sentence. The words which are required to complete the meaning of the sentence, these words can be referred as complement of the sentence. A complement can be an adjective, a name, a position, or a profession. For example, it grew dark. If the sentence is only this, it grew. Can you tell me what it grew? No, it requires, it grew dark, it grew sunny, it grew bright. He is a, imagine only this thing is written here, only these three words. He is a. Can you tell me what is he? No. So without this word, you cannot tell me, we cannot complete the sentence, meaning of the sentence. That's her dog. But who? Which? Bruno. Among a lot of dogs. So this complement is required to complete the meaning of a sentence. It can be adjective as I used dark. It can be a name as I used Bruno. It can be a profession as I used dentist. So this is complement. Then complements, they are further divided into two types. They are based on which complement it speaks about. The two types are subject complement or object complement. Subject complement, it expresses the quality or identity or condition of the subject. Subject complement, it expresses quality, identity and condition of the subject. For example, she is a doctor. She is a doctor. Doctor, identity. I am a Sindhu. I belong to Sindh. Identity. Nandu is clever. Quality. Huh? Or condition. The students were excited. Condition. My brother is a teacher. Identity. So subject complements, they show us quality, identity and condition of a subject. So we call them as subject complements. Then we have object complements. The complement which expresses the quality or identity or condition of an object is called object complement. Very simple. Subject complement shows the quality of subject, shows us the condition and identity of subject. Complement object shows us the quality, identity and condition of object. For example, they made her angry. Who? Is it about subject, this angry? Who is angry? They? No, her. She is angry. And her is the object. The students elected Shreya the class leader. The subject is the students. Are the students class leaders? No, Shreya. Then they named their daughter Thara, identity of the object. Madeline met her friend Rayan. Rayan, identity of object. Nobody found the movie interesting. State or condition of the object movie. So all these objects, they are called as object. All these complements are called object complement. Now we have adjunct. What's adjunct? An adjunct is a word or a phrase that gives more information about an action, an event, a quality or so on. Adjunct gives us some more information. Like in short, it can be said that these words can include, adjuncts include adverbs, adverb clauses. These two things can be included in adjuncts. Adjuncts can be identified by asking questions when, where, why, how often, to what extent. So when using adjuncts, keep in mind that adjuncts can be used in the beginning, middle or end. Adjuncts can be identified by asking questions like when, where, why, how often, to what extent. And these adjuncts, they can be used either at the beginning or at the middle or at the end of the sentence, and that there can be more than one adjunct. There can be more than one adjunct in a sentence. It's not mandatory that we will use only one adjunct in a sentence. No, there can be more than one adjunct in a sentence. Now take a look at the following examples to understand how adjuncts can be used. Yesterday, we met at the park. See, if I only tell you we met, that means yes, we met at some place or on some occasion. But when I say yesterday we met, you get an extra information by yesterday. We met, it's not like we met before 1 month. It's not like we met before 10 minutes, before 1 year. No, yesterday. And when I tell you yesterday we met, now you get to know yesterday we met. If I tell you now, yesterday we met at the park. So you do not mean that yesterday they met. Yeah, we met in the market or in the college, at bus stop, at railway station, at airport. No, When I tell you at the park, you get more extra information. So this sentence is having two adjuncts. One is yesterday at the beginning, another is at the end. Then he is very tired. If I tell you he is tired, you got to know, yeah, he is tired. Now I tell you he is very tired. Extra information in the sentence. Then, due to his ill health, he could not come home for Christmas. So, by this, due to his ill health, we get some information about the person about whom we are talking. My father reads the newspaper every day. Every day gives us more information. Then, this workout routine is extremely exhausting. To what extent it is exhausting? It's extremely exhausting. So extremely, again, it gives us extra information about the sentence. So this is how you can use adjuncts. You can use them at the beginning, in the middle, at the beginning, at the end, at the end, at the beginning, at the middle. So you can use these sentences. Then the different types of sentence structures in English grammar. There are different types of sentence structures in English grammar. We are talking about sentence structure, but in between I talked about different components of sentence, because if we are not aware with different components of sentences, it is difficult to get or to catch, to assimilate, to digest a sentence structure. In English grammar, there are a number of sentence structures that you can use to make your speech or writing sound or look a lot more organized, interesting and professional. In English language, there are a number of sentence structures by which you beautify your speech, by which you beautify your stuff which you write, by which you make your speaking or writing more organized, more interesting and more professional. And some of the commonly used sentence structures I will discuss with you them. Like, we have a sentence structure where we require subject plus verb only. We have other structure where we require subject to verb plus object. Another is subject to verb plus complement. Subject plus verb plus adjunct. Subject plus verb plus object plus complement. Subject plus verb plus object plus adjunct. Subject plus verb plus indirect object plus direct object. Adjunct plus subject plus verb plus complement. Adjunct plus subject plus verb plus object. Then adjunct subject to verb, indirect object to direct object. Then subject to verb, adjunct plus adjunct. Then adjunct subject to verb, adjunct to adjunct. These are most commonly used sentence structures. It's very interesting to know about these things. Sometimes we speak in these structures, but we are not aware. Like, we are not having that idea the time that we are speaking in while following some structure. So this is the sentence structure. Let's see. The first structure we talk about subject plus verb. Now look at the examples. They will help you to understand how each sentence structure works. Like, the stars are shining. We have subject, the stars. We have verb, they are shining. The birds are chirping. Subject plus verb. It's raining. Subject plus verb. So this is how we can form a sentence with the help of only subject plus verb. Then subject plus verb plus object. Now we have subject, verb and object. Children love ice creams. Children is subject. It's about children. Love is verb. Ice creams is object. Noah does not like bitter gourd. We have subject, verb, object. I have a pencil. I is the subject, have is the verb, and a pencil is object. So this is how we can form a sentence with the help of SVO, subject, verb, object. Now we have subject, verb and complement. Complement is which completes the meaning of sentence. Like, I am an Indian. Complements, they show us what? Identity, condition. I am an Indian. Identity. Subject, verb and identity, complement. Carol is a nurse, identity. Subject plus verb plus complement. My name is Gina. Again, identity is there. So this is how we can form the sentences with the help of these three components: subject, verb and complement. Subject to verb and adjunct, SVA. Madhu reached early. See, it's about Madhu. Madhu is subject, reached is verb, and adjunct is early. Early. Adjunct gives us extra information. By early, we came to know, yeah, she reached early. All of us are leaving for Tokyo. All of us are leaving. You get to know, yes, we are leaving for somewhere. But when I say for Tokyo, so for Tokyo is extra information. Adjunct, subject, verb, adjunct. He went upstairs. Subject, verb and adjunct. Then we have another one, that is subject, verb, object plus complement. Now, see, we lost out cat Queenie. We is the subject, is about we. Lost is the verb. It's our cat. We lost our cat. Our cat is object, and Queenie is complement. Then, my friends make me happy. It's talking about condition. My friends is subject, make is verb, me is object, happy is complement. Then, everyone found the book controversial. Condition. Everyone subject, found is verb, object is the book, and controversial is the complement. So this is again another structure where you require subject, verb, object, and complement to make some sentences. Then we have subject, verb, object, and adjunct. Like, it's my birthday next month. We have subject, it is verb, my birthday is object, and next month is extra information given by adjunct. Another sentence is Lakshmi reached school after 9 a.m. Lakshmi is subject, reached is verb, school is object, 9 a.m. is after 9 a.m. is adjunct. My brother plays football every day. My brother is subject, plays is verb, football is object, and every day is adjunct, which is extra information about my brother. Then we have SVI-ODO. This is subject, verb, indirect object, and direct object. The board offered me the job. The board is subject, offered is verb, me is indirect object, the job is direct object. Indirect object always comes before direct object. Indirect object always comes after verb. So like Rohit gave Rashmi his favorite book. Rohit is subject, gave is verb, Rashmi is indirect object, his favorite book is direct object. Neetu bought herself a cat. Neetu is subject, bought is verb, herself is indirect object, and a hat is direct object. Then, now we have ASVC. Adjunct, subject, verb and complement. Suddenly it grew dark. Now adjunct is at the beginning. The sentence can be only it grew dark, but when we say suddenly, we give extra information at the beginning. Suddenly is adjunct, it is subject, grew is verb, and dark is complement. Normally the weather is good. Normally is adjunct. Occasionally my dog gets restless. Occasionally is adjunct. Restless and good is complement. And here gets is verb and here is verb. The weather, my dog, they both are subjects. So this is how you can form the sentences with this structure where we have adjunct first, then subject, verb plus complement. Then adjunct plus subject plus verb plus object. So last week we celebrated Holi. Now it is not complement there, it's object there. Last week is adjunct, usually is adjunct, and every day in the sentence is adjunct. Holy or a token, the orphanage, they are objects. So this is another structure by which you can form, by which you can construct the sentences. Then adjunct, subject, verb, indirect object, direct object. Today the teacher gave us our papers. Today is adjunct, the teacher is subject, gave is verb, us is indirect object, our papers is direct object. Yesterday my mom bought me a bicycle. Yesterday is adjunct, my mom is subject, bought is verb, me is indirect object, a bicycle is direct object. Then every time he comes home, my mother gets my brother gets my mom her favorite chocolates. Every time he comes home is adjunct. My brother is subject, gets is verb. My mom is indirect object and her favorite chocolates is better direct object. It sounds very interesting and we are not paying attention when we speak sentences. That time we are not aware of the structure, but our sentences, they go with the structure. Then we have subject plus verb plus adjunct plus adjunct. Now both adjuncts at the end. They go to work by bus. They go. To work is extra information. By bus is more extra information. Adjunct. We meet every evening on the way back home. On the way back home. We meet. Okay, we meet. Now every evening is extra information on the way back home when we are going back to home. Extra information plus extra information. That means adjunct plus adjunct. Jancy went to the grocery store last Saturday. Jancy's subject went is verb. To the grocery store she went. Grocery store is extra information and last Saturday is again extra information. Then now we have adjunct at the beginning, then subject to verb, then adjunct adjunct. Normally my parents come by bus to Pondicherry. Normally is adjunct, my parents is subject, come is verb, by bus is adjunct, to Pondicherry is adjunct, extra information. Last year my friends and I went to Meghalaya for a month. Last year is extra information. My friends and I went. My friends and I is subject, went is verb. To Meghalaya extra information, for a month extra information. Usually Finn's parents would come to the airport as soon as his flight lands. Usually is extra information. Then it's called adjunct. Finn's parents subject would come verb to the airport extra information adjunct as soon as his flight lands. Extra information again adjunct. So this is how we use these common structures for the sentences. I hope you all have understood it. This is how I finished my lecture today. I would like to make a recap very quickly. I talked about sentence structure there. I talked about sentence. I talked about like sentence structure. It's a grammatical component which makes all other components to assemble in a sentence. Then I talked about basic parts of sentence. I talked about subject and predicate. I talked about 5 components of sentence like subject, verb, object, complement, and adjunct. Then I talked about subject and verb in detail, subject in detail, verb in detail, object in detail. I talked about 2 different parts of objects, 2 divisions, direct object and indirect object. I talked about complement. I talked about subject to complement and object to complement. I talked about adjunct, then I talked about different sentence structures. I defined all these sentence structures. I showed to you, I dictated them to you. Then I gave you some examples about these sentence structures. So different structures are there. I wish all of you to go these slides and just try these sentence structures, form your own sentences at your home, so that whenever you are structuring a sentence, you can easily structure it. In the next lecture, we shall be talking about simple, compound, and complex sentences. Till then, goodbye. Take care. Thank you for listening.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.